Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling some massive predictions, really ambitious stuff about the 21st century. We're looking at computing, biology, human destiny, often pretty contradictory forecasts, actually.
Right. And our mission here is to, well, try and filter all that. We need to sort of separate the plausible science from what's maybe, pure science fiction, and also understand the forces pushing technology forward, but also the things holding it back. It's not always straightforward.
Definitely not. We should probably start with an amazing bit of foresight from the past, just to set the stage. Jules Verne's book from 1865, From the Earth to the Moon. It's kind of staggering how much he got right about Apollo 11, over 100 years early.
It really is uncanny. He nailed things like the capsule size, the number of astronauts, 3, the launch location near Cape Canaveral, that feeling of weightlessness, even the splashdown in the ocean. It's remarkable.
But hang on, if he got so much right, like 80%, isn't that a win for prediction? Why do we then immediately talk about the peril of prediction?
Because Verne's success hides a blind spot, a really crucial one. His big miss was the propulsion. He imagined gunpowder, right? But liquid fuel rockets, the actual tech needed, that was still 70 years away. He couldn't see that fundamental breakthrough coming. So the failures, the things people get wrong, they're often more instructive. They show how we limit our thinking based on what we know now. Lucky guesses are less useful.
Okay, that makes sense. We focus on what we couldn't possibly see, and history is just, well, it's full of experts being spectacularly wrong.
Absolutely. And these huge misses, they almost always come from people assuming today's tech limits are forever limits.
Like the U.S. Patent Office director back in 1899 saying, everything that can be invented has been invented.
Or Harry Warner of Warner Brothers in 1927 asking, who wants to hear actors talk? Can you imagine?
And the classic IBM one, Thomas Watson in 1943 predicting a world market for maybe, 5 computers? Math.
Yeah, betting against future progress, especially the pace of it, that's usually a bad bet.
So these kinds of failures, they actually point to a key idea from our sources, something called the caveman principle.
That's right, the caveman principle. It basically states that when modern tech clashes with our deep, primitive human desires, the primitive desires usually win.
Okay, let's dig into that. The classic example is the paperless office, right? It never really happened. We still print things out. Is that because instinctively we just don't trust electrons on a screen?
That's the core idea, yeah. Efficiency sounds great, but if it goes against human instinct, forget it. The caveman part of our brain trusts the physical thing, the paper, more than the digital blip.
I get the paperless office point, but maybe that principle has limits. I mean, look at remote work now. Millions work entirely virtually. Doesn't that suggest economic needs or convenience can sometimes override that physical preference?
That's a fair point. There's nuance. Video calls and Slack replace some interactions, sure. But physical presence still carries, let's say, a higher social bandwidth. Think about it. Our ancestors relied on body language, subtle cues, for connection for millennia before speech was even common. So a boss often still prefers reading those unconscious signals from an employee in person. It feels more real, more trustworthy. And this need for connection also explains why things like social media, entertainment, even gossip sites, they're only going to get stronger. They tap into that fundamental social wiring.
That's fascinating. So our Stone Age brains are still kind of running the show in some ways. Okay, but technology isn't waiting for us to catch up. Let's talk about the near future, say, today to 2030. Scientific knowledge is doubling constantly.
Right, focusing on the near term, we see tech embedding itself directly into our lives, our health, our environment. Smart clothing is a big one.
Smart clothing. How integrated are we talking? Like chips sewn in or actually woven into the fabric?
Woven right in. These aren't just gadgets clipped on. They'd constantly monitor your vitals, heart rate, breathing, maybe even brainwave patterns for irregularities. And the key idea is, in an emergency, like a car crash, your clothes could automatically call for help. They'd send your precise location, maybe even upload your medical history from a secure file while you're unconscious.
The sources say it will be hard to die alone. Wow, that's profound. A massive safety net. But I have to ask, if my shirt is constantly monitoring and uploading my biometrics, what about privacy? Where does that data go?
And that's the immediate ethical hurdle, isn't it? The promise of safety, of not dying alone and unidentified, versus this unprecedented level of biological surveillance. It forces a societal choice. How much data are we willing to give up for that kind of security blanket?
It's a huge question. Okay, another near-term shift. Autonomous vehicles. We hear a lot about them now for convenience, but the military was the early driver, wasn't it? What did those DARPA challenges really show us?
They show that focused effort gets results, even after failure. The first challenge, 2004, a total disaster. Cars barely moved. But the Pentagon had a strong reason reducing casualties from IEDs. They aimed for a third of ground forces to be autonomous pretty quickly. That pressure led to intense work. By 2005, much better. By the 2007 Urban Challenge, they were navigating complex environments. It showed rapid progress as possible.
And the civilian goal eventually is.
Managed fleets, central computers directing self-driving cars to eliminate traffic jams and hopefully eliminate accidents almost entirely. That's the long-term vision.
Okay, this is where it starts feeling really sci-fi. Looking further out, mid-century, we shift from monitoring reality to, well, augmenting it, starting with our own senses.
Exactly. Mid-century, let's say 2030 to 2070, looks like the era of augmented reality and maybe a whole new material science.
Augmented vision, that sounds incredible. Contact lenses or glasses overlaying digital info onto the real world. The applications seem endless. Pilots seeing through the plane's body, no blind spots, actors seeing their lines right in front of them.
Or imagine geologists walking over land but seeing infrared satellite data overlaid, showing mineral deposits underground. It fundamentally changes what seeing means.
And this merging of digital and physical, it goes down to the atomic level, too. Nanotechnology and these things called atoms.
Right. Nanotech could spark a second industrial revolution, not just making things smaller, but controlling matter atom by atom. Intel's work on atoms is mentioned. Think of them as tiny programmable particles like microscopic cubes. They change shape based on electrical charge.
Wait, so instead of carrying a phone, a tablet, a laptop, I just have a small vial of this programmable dust.
That's the concept. Maybe 200, 300 milliliters of atoms in your pocket that could instantly form into whatever device you need. Phone, tablet, maybe even a specialized tool.
That feels like pure magic. What's the catch? What are the big hurdles?
Scale and control are huge challenges. Getting trillions of these things to work together perfectly, reliably, safely, it's incredibly complex. But the ultimate vision is even bigger. Programmable buildings, cities that can reconfigure themselves, making the physical world almost as fluid as software.
Wow. A programmable world. But what about us, the biological beings living in it? Let's shift focus inward to the body, genomics, and maybe even immortality.
Okay. The Human Genome Project, finished back in 2003, really kicked this off. Personalized genomics. The idea is soon everyone gets their genetic user manual, all 25,000 or so genes mapped out.
And knowing the code lets us start editing, right? Tissue engineering is already happening.
Yes, on simpler structures. We've grown bladders, windpipes, using a patient's own cells on a biodegradable scaffold, like a 3D biological printer. The goal, maybe decades away, is complex organs. Livers, kidneys grown on demand. That would basically end the transplant waiting list crisis. No rejection issues if it's your own tissue.
And then there's gene therapy, fixing the code itself. Cures for thousands of genetic diseases.
That's the promise. Things like cystic fibrosis, Huntington's. But here's where the ethics get really sharp. The difference between somatic and germline therapy.
Okay, break that down. Somatic versus germline.
Somatic therapy fixes the gene in your body cells. So you might be cured, but you could still pass the faulty gene to your children. The fix dies with you. Germline therapy modifies the genes in sperm or egg cells. That means the fix is permanent. It's passed down through generations. It changes the human gene pool.
Ah, okay. So somatic is personal, germline is forever. That's a massive difference.
Huge. And it immediately blurs the line between therapy and enhancement.
Like the Mighty Mouse gene example in the sources, myostatin suppression.
Exactly. They were researching muscle-wasting diseases. They create these incredibly buff mice. And who starts calling the lab?
Not patients.
Bodybuilders wanting cosmetic enhancement. It shows that human desire for better instantly jumps on therapeutic breakthroughs. The caveman principle again, status, appearance.
Vanity winning out over medical need.
And that drive for better leads straight to the ultimate quest. Longevity. Escaping aging. We currently understand aging as accumulated errors, genetic damage, cellular wear and tear. Kind of like the second law of thermodynamics and action systems tend towards disorder.
But the sources mention hope from simpler organisms, finding the aging switches.
Yeah, genes found in worms, flies like AGE1 or DAF2 that dramatically extend lifespan when tweaked. The hope is finding the human equivalents. Not necessarily immortality like in the myths of Tithonus, granted immortality but not youth, aging miserably forever, but maybe significantly slowing the process, living healthier, much longer lives.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this all together. We're looking at this convergence by maybe 2100, quantum computing, biotech, nanotech. The sources suggest we could end up with powers like mythological gods, manipulating matter with thought via katoms, creating new life forms, achieving maybe extreme longevity.
It sounds like ultimate power. But the sources also sound a really strong warning. They use the film Forbidden Planet as a symbol. Remember, this ancient race achieved infinite power. Their machines could create anything just by thinking it. But they were destroyed.
Why? What went wrong?
Their machines weren't just powered by their conscious, rational minds. They were also plugged into their unconscious. Their primal urges, their repressed evolutionary baggage, the monsters from the eye. So the big question becomes, will our incredible future tech be guided by our wisdom? Or will those caveman impulses, the irrational, aggressive parts of us, end up controlling the machines?
That connects to broader history too, doesn't it? The sources mention civilizations like Ming China or the Ottoman Empire around 1500. They were advanced, powerful.
But they turned inward. They became complacent, started neglecting science and technological development, and they fell behind the West, which embraced change.
So modern power isn't just about resources anymore.
No, the shift is towards what the sources call intellectual capitalism. It's brain power, innovation, continuous learning. That's the currency of the future. Not just making stuff, but inventing stuff.
Countries that foster that embrace the technological reality, those are the ones likely to thrive. Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe for you listening to mull over. In a world where brain power is the ultimate asset, where constant learning is key, how do we make sure our societies stay open, stay educated, and develop the wisdom needed to handle the almost godlike power science seems poised to deliver?